I believe the minute you stand still is the minute you're dead. And I refuse to let myself rot away in comfort. I respect my body, I respect my mind, and I respect myself too much to just give in. Happily, I found my antidote to that decay. Challenge. A constant obsession to challenge myself and push my physical and mental limits, reaping the fulfilling rewards that come with that. I feel that some of those rewards are hidden, hard to see, and today I'd like to try and shine a light on some of them. My journey began on the side of a pitch on a dark, wet night in my hometown, Galway. I was 17 years old, heavily overweight, and I just finished my school's rugby season without playing a game. I pulled my hood up over my head to keep the rain off, and I started to run. I lasted 2.5 laps, quickly submitted by the lactic acid coursing through my side, a pounding heart rate, and a weak, out-of-control mind. However, those things were powerless over the burning desire inside me. You see, I'd made a decision to get fit, and I'd finally taken responsibility for something in my life, and it felt good, really good. 24 hours later, I was back, and 48, and 72, and every night for the next 30 nights, I huffed and puffed my way around that pitch, slowly trampling a trail into the grass. That month, I made a simple personal discovery, but one that would prove profoundly important for me in my future. Pushing your body is rewarding. From a 17-year-old who couldn't make his school's rugby team, 2 years later, I signed my first professional rugby contract. Now, clearly this was a formative time in my life where I'd learned the power of raising personal standards, taking responsibility, committing fully to something, working hard, persevering, and the rewards that come with those actions. However, little did I know that this short 30-day period would be the cornerstone of the foundation I would build my life's work on until today. Those first few slow but intentful steps were literally the start of a long and fruitful journey battling on the rugby pitches of the English, French, and Celtic leagues. If I had the rest of the day here, I couldn't do that journey justice in describing its importance to me. What I'll simply say is rugby forged me into the person I am today, and I'm pretty content with that person. Rugby taught me respect, humility, work ethic, discipline, and the power to push myself day after day, week after week, year after year. The professional game is a crucible of survival where you will be pushed, and you must push to keep pace with the constant demands of a brutal sport. So if those 30 wet April nights were the cornerstone of my foundation, the next 16 years of professional rugby filled that foundation, built the first floor and the second. Unfortunately, that boyhood dream that was ignited when Jonah Lomu ran over my cat at the '95 Rugby World Cup had to come to an end. Injury forcing a disappointing and silent retreat. I made a decision to move on from rugby very quickly. And I sat down and I made a list that was entitled, "Before I am 40, I will." The theme was adventure. Adventure was to replace rugby. Passion was to replace passion. Adventure was the perfect fit because it would satisfy my curiosity and fascination with the world, but would also continue to give me an outlet to push my body physically and mentally to its limits through extreme adventures. And I knew what those adventures were going to be. I discovered them and committed to them years earlier, and only now that rugby was finished, I could take action on that commitment. So the list was set, before I am 40. As of today, I've put a satisfactory line through 2 of those endings to that sentence. In 2016, I completed the Marathon des Sables, the world's toughest foot race. A 6-stage ultramarathon across the Sahara Desert, self-supported, carrying everything you need on your back to survive. All your food, all your cooking utensils, your bedding, your clothing, even a scorpion kit. And this time last year, I shoved a little 7-meter ocean rowing boat away from the dock in one of the Canary Islands, attempting to row 5,000 kilometers solo and unsupported across the Atlantic Ocean. Now, for someone who had zero maritime experience, zero rowing experience, and can't even swim, this bode to be the adventure of a lifetime. But that's what I wanted. I wanted to be pushed to my absolute limits. In fact, a sick side of me wanted it to be harder, as hard as it could ever be. And I got exactly what I wanted. 6 hours into day one, everything that could seem to go wrong, went wrong. My rock, my body, the thing I've trained to be unbreakable, broke. All the calluses on my hands tore off. Both my heels blistered. Seasickness hit me hard. And every major muscle group in my lower body went into some sort of strange spasm. And just when my physical world was falling down around me, the winds and the currents shifted into the bow of the boat, into the front of the boat, reducing my speed to 0.2 of a knot per hour. So rest was paramount. So I made the incredibly difficult decision to sleep and try and regain some physical composure. 45 minutes later, my alarm went off, and I see I've been blown back a mile, closer to the island I've just left. I resume rowing with a plan. The spasms have receded a little bit, so the plan is row, catch up that mile you've lost, deploy your sea anchor, get some sleep for your first night at sea, try and recover. 3 hours later, I see the same point on the GPS, 42.2 kilometers. Put my head down, hopeful that that will be the solution to all my problems. 5 hours later, I wake up, I'm blown back 1.5 miles on para-anchor. Suddenly, my mind overtakes my body in the turmoil both are feeling. I pull in the para-anchor, and I see an image in my head that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. It was rectangular, it had a black background, and there was a 4-letter word written on it in white block capital letters. It said, quit. The next 45 minutes are the longest of my life, where I question everything that's led to this situation and find insufficient answers. Para-anchor stored, I sit down on my seat on my boat, and my awareness kicks in. You're negative and you have destructive thoughts. I take a breath, try and get some composure, and I ask myself 3 questions. What are you here to do? Row the Atlantic. Well, how do you do that? Well, you fucking row. And what good is another minute, hour, day spent here lamenting all your mistakes and misfortunes, feeling sorry for yourself? None. So I rowed. I rowed for 7 hours straight, took an hour off, rowed for another 7 hours. I made 10 miles, which is nothing. But finally that evening, the winds shifted into my stern and they started to blow me away from land. Finally, my race was on. Looking back, having the awareness to ask myself those 3 questions in that moment was the difference between me successfully crossing and not. Because there was 2 other solos in the exact same situation as me, 2 other boats going forward, getting blown backwards, going forward, getting blown backwards, and they didn't get up on the morning of day 2, and they didn't row for 14 of the next 15 hours, and their races were cruelly ended when they were pulled back into the island, having not been able to get away from the currents and the winds. Day 9, winds and waves pound off my cabin, shaking my cabin all night. I climb out of the hatch and I see I've lost an oar overnight. This sends me into a spiral. The next 24 hours are deep and dark of self-pity and self-loathing. Day 14, I'm fast asleep in the cabin. Next thing I know, I'm woken when my face smashes off the side of the cabin. of yourself in a washing machine and you get the idea. It was during a capsize. So bloodied, I climb out into the carnage of 8-9 meter waves, howling winds, and I hang on for my life. 7 hours later, I catch a flash out of the corner of my left eye of white and blue, and I see that there's a wave crashing, a monstrous wave crashing over the boat, and I know we're gone again. Instinctively, I reach behind me where there's a handle, and I grab it, and I hit the ocean with the boat. And then it's like time slows down, and I'm in this peaceful, serene existence. And I have the presence of mind to be able to concentrate all my focus into one thought. Squeeze your grip, almost creating a wired connection out of my thoughts into my arm, down into my grip strength. And I go around 360 degrees with the boat hanging on with one hand, peacefully saying, squeeze your grip, hit the deck, a very relieved man. 3 days later, I wake up to find my steering in 2 different bits. I'm 2,000 miles from where I'm meant to go, and I'm now rudderless in the middle of the Atlantic. Something that's already incredibly hard has just become 10 times harder. Somehow I managed to think of this positively. You wanted this to be hard. Well, you got exactly what you wanted. Now we're going to see what you're made of. Fast forward, day 58. I rise at 3 a.m. It won't be light. There won't be any heat on my body for another 7 or 8 hours at least. I've got sea sores and pressure sores all over my backside that are absolutely agony. It's cold, and squalls hit the boat every 30 minutes. I'm fed up. I want out. I've had enough. It's nothing but 24 hours of suffering. I reset mentally. You chose this. You wanted this. Now control the controllables and forget about the outcome. The outcome will be the result of all those controllables added up. Focus on them. I row on. Day 63, land, Antigua, family, food, friends, a toilet and a toilet seat. I'd made it. I'd persevered long enough, and I'd had the will to never ever give up the fight faced with this relentless opponent. So why? Why do you search out and put yourself in these sort of situations? What if I said it's because it makes everyday life easier? Actually, every minute of every day, every second of every minute of every day. You see, I have a life philosophy. I have a philosophy that life is a fight. And you need certain values to come out on top of that fight every day. Rowing oceans, climbing mountains, running deserts, and generally pushing my absolute physical and mental limits every day shows, teaches, practices, and strengthens those values. So when you come out the other side, you're slightly better armed to take on the fight at hand. The grind, the suffering, the setbacks, the knockdowns, the resistance, the chaos that makes up life. Life is just simply easier when you come out the other side of something incredibly difficult. And what are these values that I think are hidden from, that translate so well from pushing my limits into everyday life? Well, the first one is courage. When you push your body and mind to its breaking point, you're going to find yourself in a place where it's very vulnerable. You're going to find yourself facing a choice under extreme physical and mental duress to continue or to quit. What's scary is I never know the decision I'm going to make until I get there. It's because in this moment, all the protective layers we've built up, all the internal and external noise, all of life's distractions are stripped away, and you're simply faced with you versus you. And the picture you see will be clearer than one you've ever seen in your life before. It takes courage to self-impose this exposed and vulnerable place on oneself, because you might not like what's looking back at you. The second value is awareness. When I find myself in these dark moments where my body is screaming at me for outs, presenting attractive excuses and justifications to give up, having that working relationship with your internal witness could be the difference between succeeding and failing, continuing or quitting. If you're not aware of what your thoughts are doing and why they're doing it and what they're saying to you, you can't change it. I like to think of this as meditation through pain. The third value is presence. The key to mental strength is living in the moment. You can only control the moment you're experiencing. I've learned on expeditions during physical endeavors that I can only control 4 things: my breath, my effort, my self-talk, and my position and technique. And when my focus goes to anything else outside my control, I'm immediately in a weak mindset. So practicing daily in my training, controlling those 4 things, strengthens my relationship with living in the present every day. The fourth is honesty. Ego is the enemy. Ego is a sneaky character. He's always in the background, working away where you can't see him, championing easy options. But when in fact what he's doing is he's putting barriers in the way of your long-term growth and fulfillment. So honest reflection will uncover and expose this silent motivator, dangerous motivator. I've learned this the hard way through pain and injury, but I've learned it nonetheless. So now I question absolutely everything I do in my daily life through a brutal, honest filter, because that keeps me moving forward in life where I want to go and not making the same mistakes I made in the past. And the last value, I feel, it translates so well from adventures and pushing your limits into daily life, is willpower. How do you build willpower? Well, you finish what you start. Whatever I start and commit to, no matter how hard it is, no matter how long it takes, I finish it. Because if I stop, I'm training stopping. And if I continue and finish, I'm training perseverance and finishing. That's how oceans get rowed. That's how mountains get climbed. That's how the dishes get done. And that's how the lawn gets mowed. So in these 5 values are my key to why. It's not about the achievements, the memories, or the experiences, even though they are unbelievably important. Pushing my mental and physical limits daily in these adventures teaches me and strengthens those values I need to navigate life every day. The more courageous, honest, and aware I am, the more I live in the present, and the stronger my will grows, the slower, calmer, and easier life seems to be, internally and externally. Thank you.